زنده این که سیاه همچین گفت خونه خراب شده گفتم از زیر آوار بعد بین بکشیمتون.
Hey, everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Christy Alonso, the Academy Award-nominated Best Foreign Film, The Salesman, is making its way around the country, and we took a look at it.
We did. So, yes, so Asghar Farhadi, the director of this film, has been in the news quite a bit lately because he's saying that he will not, and sadly probably cannot, attend the Academy Award ceremony because he is from Iran, and that is one of the countries that supposedly is very, very scary these days, according to our president. And so, hence, I'm wearing the Arnold Schwarzenegger shirt. I'm Team Arnold today. So, it's interesting, yeah, that this movie is about a guy who is an actor. Is he also directing it? No, he's just acting.
No, he's acting.
He's acting in a version of Death of a Salesman alongside his wife. And at the beginning of the film, they have to leave their apartment building because it's literally collapsing all around them. They have to find a new home very quickly. They're afraid they might have to sleep at the theater. But one of their fellow actors in their theater troupe says, I've got a place for you. It's going to be great. It's pretty cheap. You can move in right now. And then they move in, and it's not great necessarily. And there are some things that they don't know about it once they get in there. But then they quickly become much more deeply ensconced in the troubles of the former tenant than they'd hoped to be. Take a look.
مسئله مستاجر قبلیه. ما قراره بیاد بره. چی میدونم انقدر محکم گفت هماهنگ کردم میام میبرم که مثلا
که شانس آوردیم بالاخره.
شما همینطور.
So yeah, I still haven't seen A Separation. I know, I need to see it. I hear it's great.
He won the Oscar for A Separation. How many years ago was that? Several years ago.
4 or 5.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think A Separation is still better than this, but this is very good and good. Yeah.
But what's so great about foreign films is that I think they allow you a way to sort of see how people live in other parts of the world, and they don't necessarily have to like put a big, they're not underlining everything, but it's just but when you look at sort of the day-to-day circumstances, like the fact they sort of casually mention that, oh yeah, the censors have to come check out this performance, and we might have to cut 3 scenes from this Arthur Miller classic because like that's the way the country.
Sanitize it.
Exactly, yeah. But at the same time, I mean, like this is a country of people with cell phones and who are artists and who so it's not like the world of the Ayatollahs necessarily anymore, although it's obviously still working its way past that, and like at one point they get into a cab, and I wondered if is Jafar Panahi driving that cab? Another Iranian filmmaker who made a movie called Taxi where he drove people around. Anyway, and which also begs the question, like, why do this guy's movies, which seem to be somewhat critical of contemporary Iran, get out into the world and don't get censored the way that like Jafar Panahi's do, or that Abbas Kiarostami's had to leave the country to keep making movies. But anyway, the Salesman itself, I think it's a suspenseful film. Like a terrible thing happens, and there's sort of these repercussions that occur, and it's not just about the terrible thing happens to the wife, and that's not a spoiler. And you think that the movie's just going to be about like, how does this affect the husband? Because that's so often the way these movies get told. But it's not just that. I mean, it's about her as well, and it's about what does the husband's response have to say about the society in which they live, which I thought was kind of interesting.
And it's about how people deal with trauma and how you work through it, because she still wants to continue on with the play.
Right.
And everyone wants to continue on like everything is normal, but things are spiraling out of control around them. I don't really want to give away what all happens, but it's very quietly tragic, right?
Yeah.
It's not melodramatic.
No.
Awful things happen and there are repercussions, as you say, but it is all in this very understated tone, which kind of amplifies the horror of these moments.
Yes.
It is about, I think, a cultural universality in that they are performing this American classic, but also it is about this very specific place and time and this very specific misunderstanding. And it's a tricky thing he pulls off, trying to balance all that. It's hard to explain. And my explanation was kind of a long explanation. It's not a high concept movie here, but it's, Beautifully acted. I want to say the names of the actors. Shahab Hosseini and Taraneh Al-Ajusti are the husband and wife.
He won Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival last year.
For this?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think this got Best Screenplay as well.
Yeah, so it is a slow burn.
Yes.
Terrible things happen, but it takes a while. But I don't think it's necessarily depressing as much as it is startling. It shakes you up.
Definitely, and the payoffs are there. You know, it's a movie that requires a certain level of patience. But there, even as that slow burn is happening, there are still things that are interesting to look at and to sort of just explore who these characters are, and again, sort of the world that they live in. I thought was really sort of interesting. I'm still grappling with why Death of a Salesman of all things. Like if there's some sort of metaphorical underpinning there.
I was thinking about that too. Do they use it effectively enough to try to draw a parallel? It's certainly not an obvious parallel.
Yeah,
metaphor.
exactly.
Maybe they're both about a man struggling to establish an identity or provide for his family or something. I don't know. I'm totally reaching here, but it's not an obvious connection.
Exactly. It's not like, well, they could just be doing, under the yum yum tree or whatever. But I mean, I'm sure there's something there, and I suspect that it'll come to me. But just from a first viewing, like, why Death of a like? Because usually when they're doing a play in a movie, like there's some very easy connective tissue as to like, oh well, they do this on stage and they do this off stage, and this one's not quite that way. But that's not a bad thing. I think it if anything else, it does sort of illustrate. I mean, it's about these characters who are sort of desperate and trying to figure out their place in the world, and I think it kind of fits into the notion of. There's discussion about this. Like you're putting on this play in Iran, and so the woman who plays the woman that when Biff catches Willie Loman having the affair with the other woman in the motel, she's supposed to be like half naked, but of course it's in the Iranian production she's wearing a hat and a raincoat.
Right. Maybe because it's called The Salesman. Maybe theoretically the husband is also the salesman in that he is trying to sell an idea. He's trying to sell a story that he's trying to convince himself of and others around him too. Maybe it's that.
Who knows? Draw your own conclusions. Right. We don't know.
But subject of film school papers for years
there you go. But no, but this is a really interesting film, and I need to see. I saw didn't he have a previous Farhadi do a previous film that had the actress from The Artist in it? Am I getting that wrong?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
We'll look
anyway,
anyway,
this one's good. You should see it. And yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be, if I will say this, certainly if Academy members were of a mind to try and send a message to Washington, this would be the movie they could very easily vote for.
Right, but as opposed to the obvious frontrunner, which I would assume is Tony Erdmann.
I guess, yeah. Which I still haven't seen again. I still got to do that.
Because Alonso does not have 2 hours and 42 minutes of his life to
I
give
will
to Tony
find
Erdmann.
one, I promise.
We're all busy. I hear you. So my number is 7.8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.
So we're 7.9. It is at 98% on the tomato meter. I want to say it's probably New York and LA.
Getting its way out there. It's
yeah.
Cone Media and it's Amazon, so at some point I guess Amazon will have it streaming, but not yet.